There we go. So 3, 2, and 1. Well, Mayor Diny, welcome back. Mayor's Monday here at WSAU, WSAU.com. Anything going on in the city lately?
Oh, there's a lot going on in the city.
Anything?
Anything.
Any discussion at all here at City Hall that people are, I guess, really tuned into these days and really keeping an eye on these days? Any discussion at all?
Well, of course, maybe top of mind is budget. I guess we can always hit some good news first. Is that Foundry on 3rd? You were there for the grand opening.
Yeah.
A lot of people showed up for that. A lot of people took the tours. It's exciting to see Washington Street now two-way. We're getting more traffic down there. He's leasing up, and last I heard was there about 30%.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a little time to get filled up, but we're going to get feet on the street down there. And we're talking, I think the council you saw approved the apartments going into 11 Scott Street. So again, we'll have more feet on the street downtown. And that's really been the goal all along, is to get more people living down there. As we know, office space, you're familiar with some office space.
I certainly
near
am.
your location there where there's vacancies.
There's vacancy, yes.
Short of putting 400 cubicle farm, 400 person cubicle farm back in that building, that's probably not going to happen.
Right. And I think the thing that really struck me about the Foundry on 3rd is in having the discussions with Terrence Wall after the ribbon cutting, which, by the way, excellent scissor skills there on that ribbon cutting.
That was my first, actually, where I got to do that.
Yeah, that was some quality work there. But what really struck me was the reps from T-Wall said the thing that they're really getting interest on is businesses that are in the Wausau area already that want to move into downtown. Now all of a sudden have that option. So it's not just, relying on national chains or things like this. It's bringing smaller mom and pop shops into downtown.
Right, and it's a catalyst on not only just places to live, but if you're going to have a business here, you need employees. And if you can have places for them to live in the center of downtown, I don't know that we'll ever get back to having 400 people in a big office building, but you're going to have them in smaller shops. You're going to have the professionals here in town who want a place to stay and maybe be a little more mobile. It's evident every Wednesday during the summer we get 2,500 people on the 400.
No doubt.
It is a cool place to live. It's a cool place to visit, and if you can live right there, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, so obviously we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but the second stage of that development, I know they want the cash flow from the first phase before they start on the second phase, because that'll obviously kind of finance the next part. What else could you imagine there in that space besides what's there already, which is it's professional services, a gym, probably some restaurants, and eventually, who knows what else?
Well, one of the things, and I saw you talking to Mr. Wall after that. He probably shared a few ideas with you. I think one of the things that I've been prodding them on is some form of a grocery type store downtown. We do have a great little boutique downtown grocery. But we looked at things like Trader Joe's was surfaced. There's a few other unique grocery type stores that would cater to a downtown area. If you recall, when the mall was there, the Walgreens was in there. That was one of the busiest trafficked stores in the old mall. It was one of the things that was keeping the mall propped up. So a business that would bring people in, it would be a destination type thing. So I think that would be a priority, is a destination type attractant, and that could be part of some future. But of course, you hit it, is you need the cash flow, and it has to work for the business as well to make that happen.
Yeah, if it's Whole Foods or something along those lines. You mentioned Trader Joe. We're getting Hy-Vee here pretty soon.
Right.
Hy-Vee also has kind of a scaled down smaller business model or a smaller store layout, I mean, you've got any number of options there.
Yes.
I would think.
And Hy-Vee is an interesting one. I'm just learning a little bit about them. I've never been to one.
Oh, really?
I plead ignorance there, but judging by the excitement people have expressed, that is something that we need. And, if it's generating that kind of chatter, it's a store that people will come to. I mentioned my folks that they live up in the Northwoods, so they don't have access to a lot of things. They drive to Green Bay for a lot of shopping. It would be nice to have them come to Wausau more frequently if they could do that. They like to go to Sam's Club. They like to go to Fleet Farm and Menards and everything that big cities have. So more destination opportunities.
Well, I can tell you're sitting right here with a former employee of Hy-Vee, 2 stores actually.
Oh, really?
2 different Hy-Vee stores. Great company to work for. Offers a lot of great benefits to employees, whether they're full-time or part-time. I can give you firsthand knowledge there. And the Hy-Vee Chinese meal, if after you're in a certain state from the night before, we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Definitely hits the spot.
Hits the spot. Hey, I'm glad. Good to hear someone vouch for them. And
exactly.
That's good news. We want good employers in town.
Exactly. Now on to the budget. Obviously, there's been a lot of discussion back and forth between yourself and Council President Lisa Rasmussen on this. And I'm thinking that this discussion that you've been having over your veto-proof budget, as you released it last week, and then Lisa's response to it, maybe it's some of the discussion that you're wanting to have with the budget, but maybe not necessarily, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, through the media, because we've got the ideas flowing as to how we can cut $1.5 million. But on the surface, or at least on the optics, might not be the ideal way to go about it, we'll say.
Well, it is a solution. And when I'm looking at the org charts for each division, where you can find large amounts of money, I can tell you there's not a lot of opportunities out there, short of where can we find opportunities to consolidate efforts, consolidate staffing, and look at our equipment purchases. Other than that, and of course people will also throw in the extra money we're spending on other TID districts. Theoretically 2 separate pots of money, and I had some people in here the other day asking, should we be considering bringing the TIDs down, closing TIDs sooner? So that's all part of the calculus, but to get us through 2026 is probably the first and foremost thing we need to do. The directors, we took some cuts, or they took some cuts. They are freezing some hires. You saw county freezing some hires because we're going to get through 26. Really the crux of this whole thing and some of this heated discussion, if you'd call it that, or debate, is what happens in 27, because it is going to be exponentially worse if we don't start planning now. So we have 14 months, actually a little less than that, because we really should start the planning for 27 midway through next year. Right. Maybe even come January, we're going to start. Actually, we talked to directors yesterday. What can we do to find other revenue streams, to find other ways to cut, to maybe find consolidation efforts out there, with whether that's with other cities, with private enterprise, with county, to find ways to get there. Because unless the levy limits change, we are constrained to the levy for a reason. Because let me back up. The school board announced that they're going to be lowering taxes. Counties lowering taxes. We're trying to hold it as flat as possible. There's going to be a slight increase, but what happens in April? We're going to add in 1.4 million. That's a big chunk. So can we avert that? And that's my job, to offer those ideas. They don't have to accept them. They're hard decisions. And as you've seen, we spent an hour and a half talking about raising pet license from 24 to 27. So we spend an hour and a half on that issue, and that's a small issue compared to the big picture. So it's my charge to offer those. It's their their obligation to consider them and decide whether they think they're good or not. They may be uncomfortable, but are they viable?
Yeah, because as you said, there's a whole lot going on in the budget with the way that cities are financed, with the way that shared revenue comes in. Obviously, that's a number that you don't necessarily know until about this time every year is exactly what your share is going to be from the state. So these conversations are constantly, flowing. And I guess my point is, in the way I framed the question, the way I did, is these are conversations that have to be had. And I think your frustration with the city council has been they're going to the nuclear option before considering other areas or where
Right.
money can be saved
Right.
elsewhere. Is that correct?
That's correct. So I use the term punting on first down.
Yes.
And the referendums fail at a 60% rate for municipal. School districts have a slightly higher rate of passage. And I think if citizens see that we aren't looking for cost-cutting measures and we're just going to that nuclear option as an all or nothing, that's a big risk too. Think about that. If we go all or nothing on the 12, where we could potentially save 4 or 6 today, and obviously we want to try to continue to build that if it makes sense, but we can't do it in one fell swoop. So I think residents will see that if we're not taking those efforts, it's going to be a lot harder to pass a referendum.
And then last thing before we let you go, there was a report last week, actually, in the Wausau, and our good friend Brian Kowalski, I'll give a shout out to, even though he doesn't work for us, regarding the transit director position. A lot of talk right now about this and what it's meant. What can you tell us now about Aaron Hersey, and as broadly or as narrowly as you can, why he's no longer employed with the city, and I guess where you plan to go from here on that position? Because obviously the transit position, Metro Ride, has kind of been a point of frustration for many over the last few years.
Or it has been over the last few years. I think you're correct when we lost Greg Soyberg to retirement. I think the first and foremost, most important thing is, are we still managing to run the routes? Are we on time? Are the operations being conducted safely, and are they being led properly? The answer today is yes. Under the direction of Ron Schenke, who is now the interim director, we've added a route out to Northern Valley, for example. So we added that on, piggybacked that on with our day trippers for the school. So we have drivers that have now some time before and after that they can make that run very efficiently, because we're already paying the drivers. So it's a few miles out there and a few miles back. It has taken a load off of, and it's roughly 20-some people per trip. And it's one trip in the morning, one trip at night for the shift change. And it's really helped Northern Valley and helped their employees get there. Most of them don't have vehicles to get there. So that's been a plus. And I don't know that we've really highlighted that enough. It's a small little ad, but we're continuing to try to enhance the service down there, and that happens. As far as
Aaron, yep.
Mr. Hersey's decision, that was a personal decision that he made. He has resigned and moved on for the good of his family and other reasons. So I don't have any really reason to comment much further on that. The biggest thing is that we've transitioned, and we will continue, and by federal law, I believe we're going to have to do a search.
Right.
And we'll do that in accordance with HR best practices, and we'll do that within the next few months. But right now, things are running.
Smooth.
The trains are running.
Yeah,
the buses are running. The wheels are turning.
Under an interim director, though, correct?
That is correct. We've got the 10 new bus contract, so sometime near the end of next year, we'll have 10 brand new efficient diesel buses. So our fleet will be virtually all of them will be within a 5 years old. So we're going to have a very fresh fleet, dedicated workforce down there. And I think, the city, that's probably the least of my concerns right now. We have the other issues in other
No
departments
doubt.
that we have. Nobody has a monopoly on issues. I'll just say that.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, Mayor Diny, we always appreciate the time to take some time away from those issues to chat with us here every month, and we'll look forward to chatting again in December.
All right, Michael, see you in December.